A couple of closing questions. Where's the major threat to us as a country right now? Where does it come from?
Did you see the reporting that Peter Mansbridge, our top-of-the-line anchor for CBC, publicly funded, corporately designated media operation, did you see how Peter Mansbridge asked his question? Where do you think the real threat is? He's almost begging and pleading. The real threat, Peter, is from you, because you as a journalist couldn't figure out what to say and how to ask a question. I wonder which journalism school you went to, or was this all scripted? Let me think. I wonder if it's scripted or not. What do you think the real threat is? Why don't you start bowing down to the Holy Master? You are supposed to be a journalist, Peter. You are supposed to ask the critical questions. Let us see what you actually have to say after the Prime Minister blurts out racism, bigotry, and a whole lot of other nonsense to malign a whole population of Muslims everywhere. And let us see what your journalistic abilities are capable of.
Well, you know, Peter, there are a number of threats on different levels, but if we're talking about terrorism, I mean, the major threat is still Islamicism. The truth is, that threat exists all over the world. We've seen some recent bombings in Nigeria, domestic Nigerian terrorism.
And homegrown Islamicism
homegrown.
Peter! Mr. Mansbridge! What is wrong with you? You started repeating exactly what the Prime Minister was repeating. At least if he is not educated properly, you surely must have been. You must have come out of a journalistic school. No? What happened to you? You start repeating a non-word, Islamicism. That's where the big threat is. The threat is you, Peter. You have to report properly. You have to be critical. You are the first line in the defense of democracy. For God's sake, you can't go along nodding your head. Is this all scripted? What is wrong with our front line for our democracy? Is he representing the world, or is he representing Canada? In Canada, there has been no terrorist attacks from any Muslims. Why is it the biggest threat? There are more guns, more knife, more stabbing, all of those other things. Peter, couldn't you have asked a question as to, dear Prime Minister, don't you think that these others are also a threat to Canadian society? Did you have to go along and say Islamicism also, a non-word? Did you also go to Mary's dictionary rather than Merriam's dictionary? What is wrong with you, Peter? I'm very disappointed.
In terms of how you counter that.
Peter, what happened? Did your brain fudge up a little bit? How do you counter that? Were you having a moral problem because you were memorizing a phrase that you had to say? Was this all checklist before you had to give an interview? As people of democracy, as people who love Canada, you are the front line for us, Peter. What's wrong with you, Peter? You are literally slipping up. I think you need to retire. Something has to happen. This is a sad day, Peter. Very, very sad. To all Canadians, a message that what we have witnessed with Peter Mansbridge's interviewing abilities, or should I say non-abilities, that he has come across as somebody who just asks the question and moves on. These are for purely non-journalistic rating moves by the CBC. This has nothing to do to probe into questions and to ask the pertinent questions, to seek discernment from the viewers, because he is supposed to be the front line for us to ask these politicians as to why they make such blunders in front of us. I think this is a shame upon CBC, publicly funded. Why didn't you ask some questions? We are asking our media to stop making a hate environment for the Muslims, because that's exactly, folks, and even if you don't agree with me, I must I must put this point forward because everyone talks about Nazi Germany. And in the 1930s, this is exactly how the fervor was started. It didn't start all of a sudden into concentration camps. It started slowly with the media propaganda. They were showing rats coming down while they were depicting Jews at the same time, that these were the people that symbolized the enemy. And because there were no journalistic personalities on the other side could stand up to this dictator, then therefore the Holocaust took place, because it turned the tide into a vicious circle against a whole population of Jews and Gypsies and you name it, anybody that did not make quote unquote Hitler's Aryan army. So I want to put it forward to you today that whether you agree with me or not and think it's a big deal or not, it is becoming a climate of hate for the Muslims. When the head of state actually states these bigoted statements, these racist statements, these discriminatory statements, and then the journalistic personality in the name of Peter Mansbridge does nothing to mollify that, does nothing to curtail it, does nothing to assuage it. How are we supposed to feel after that when the climate of hate is already becoming intense against the Muslims? It is extremely important that our media not create this hype, and I'm going to leave this for posterity because I want to be at least the first one to tell you that it is becoming a climate of hate for myself, for my wife, for my children, for my community. And my community as a whole, as Canadians, are being harmed. Because if you harm somebody, as Martin Luther King said, injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. So why are we actually on this bandwagon of hate? And you see, because you might not think of these interviews as anything, but it programs people. That's how this nutcase terrorist who killed 100 people in Oslo, he went about because he read books from Mark Stein saying that, oh, the Muslims are coming and they're grabbing land and making all of these fictitious stories. I think it is high time that we take account of our journalism ability in the media, that we take them to task as to why they didn't ask the right questions and the pertinent questions. And I think it has to start somewhere. It's not the dog chasing the tail or the tail chasing the dog. We have to start somewhere, not the chicken and egg story. We have to start with our media as to they have to report to us news, not that what they want to fabricate, but what we want as news itself. So let news speak for itself. And if you're going to do any kind of journalism, at least ask the proper questions. So we leave you at that for your discernment. Because right now, it is a time that is becoming hotter and hotter for the Muslims. I know some airheads out there may think, and these are in the periphery, that, you know, oh great, we're going to expunge them and we're going to kick them out and let them go back home to where they belong. Remember, we've been here in North America for hundreds of years. We didn't come last 10 decades. No, hundreds of years. Not the last 10 decades, meaning 100 years. Hundreds of years. They found a mosque in Cuba. Muslims have been here a lot longer than what you think. So please, let us stop this racist attitude. It is not a good thing. It pits people together. We're much better than that. We cannot let anger consume us and hatred and bigotry be the order of the day. So my plea for you today is, folks, that go out and meet your Muslim neighbor. And Muslims, if you're watching, go out and meet your non-Muslim neighbor. Get to know each other. Talk about things. Thrash out ideas. Intelligent people talk. Ignoramuses, they actually make up stories and hype and fear and hatred and all of this scaremongering and scapegoating. So this is a very important message to you. I pray that you be blessed. I pray that Canada stays safe, stays whole, stays a place where it respects all members of its society. And I pray that it is a good day for us, that we start now and today. Please pick up your phone and call CBC. pick up your email and send one towards them to say that we will no longer stand for this. The interview aired on September the 6th, and you can see it for yourself. May God bless you, and peace be unto you.